Let me tell you about the day my Auntie Bernice caught a case over rent money. Now, before you judge her, you gotta understand something about Auntie B. This woman survived 3 husbands, raised 5 kids that weren't hers, and once fought a raccoon in a Walmart parking lot over the last rotisserie chicken. So when I say she beat up my landlord, I mean she really beat up my landlord, and honestly, he had it coming. My name is Devin Thompson, and at 28 years old, I was living in a studio apartment in Atlanta that cost more than my first car. You know the type. The kind of place where the landlord calls it cozy, but really means you can cook breakfast, take a shower, and answer the door all without moving your feet. The building was called Magnolia Heights, which was hilarious because there wasn't a magnolia tree within 5 miles and the only height was the rent. My landlord, Richard Pemberton, was one of those white guys who thought wearing a bow tie made him sophisticated. He drove a Tesla, drank kombucha, and pronounced gentrification like it was a good thing. Every first of the month, he'd slide that rent increase notice under my door like he was doing me a favor. 3 months in a row, he raised it. First by 50, then by 75, and the last one, a straight up 125 jump. I was standing in my kitchen / living room / bedroom when I read that final notice. My boy Terrence was on the couch, which was also technically my dining room table if you moved the cushions right. Yo, Dev, you see this? I held up the paper like it was evidence in a murder trial. Terrence looked up from his phone. He was eating the last of my cereal, which I'd specifically told him not to touch. But that's Terrence for you. We'd been friends since 3rd grade when he let me copy his math homework, and I'd been carrying him through life decisions ever since. Man, not another one. How much this time? $125 more. That puts me at $17.50 a month for 400 square feet. Terrence whistled low. That's crazy. You paying damn near $2,000 for a spot where I can see your toilet from the front door. There's a partition wall. Dev, it's a shower curtain. He wasn't wrong. But this was Atlanta in 2023. You either paid or you lived with your mama. And my mama had just converted my childhood bedroom into a meditation room after she discovered YouTube yoga, so that wasn't an option. I called my sister Jasmine first. She was the responsible one in the family. Had a good job at some tech company, owned her own condo, and actually read her lease agreements before signing them. The complete opposite of me. Girl, Richard hit me with another increase. What should I do? Did you read the lease? I skimmed it. Devin, look, it was 12 pages. Nobody reads all that. Responsible adults read all that. Did it say anything about rent increases? I pulled out my lease from the junk drawer, which was really just a shoebox under the sink, started flipping through pages covered in legal jargon that might as well have been hieroglyphics. It says something about market rate adjustments and, hold up, this can't be right. It says he can increase it whenever he wants, as long as he gives 30 days notice. That's pretty standard for month-to-month leases, Dev. You should have negotiated. Negotiated? Jasmine, I was just happy somebody would rent to me after that thing with my credit score. The thing where you forgot to pay your student loans for 8 months? I didn't forget. I was boycotting the system. You can't boycott debt, Devin. That's when I heard the background noise on her end. Sounded like a construction site mixed with a gospel choir rehearsal. Where are you? Mama's house. She's having the meditation room blessed. There's like 6 church ladies here burning sage and playing Yolanda Adams. That's not how sage works. Try telling Mama that. Hold on. She wants to talk to you. Before I could protest, I heard my mother's voice come through the speaker. Patricia Thompson had a voice that could command a room, a courtroom, or a corner store with equal authority. She'd been a middle school principal for 30 years before retiring, which meant she'd perfected the art of making grown men feel like they forgot their homework. Devin, baby, Jasmine told me about your housing situation. Mama, it's fine. I'm handling it. You handling it like you handled that car note last year? That was one time. And technically, I was only 2 months late. 3 months. The 3rd month doesn't count because I paid it the same day they came to repossess it. I heard her sigh. It was that specific sigh black mothers have. The one that says, I love you, but Jesus is testing me with you. Baby, why don't you just move back home? I can clear out some of the meditation room. Mama, I'm 28. I can't move back in with you. Your cousin Darnell is 32 and he just moved back with his mama. Darnell got divorced, lost his job, and crashed his car into a Chick-fil-A. I'm not using him as my baseline for success. Well, Somebody needs to talk to that landlord. These white folks think they can just charge whatever they want. When I was your age, rent was affordable. Mama, when you were my age, a candy bar cost $0.25. Watch your mouth. I'm not that old. A candy bar was at least 50 cents. That's when I heard another voice in the background. A voice I recognized immediately. A voice that made me sit up straight even though she couldn't see me through the phone. It was my Auntie Bernice. Pat, is that Devin? Let me talk to that boy. Oh Lord. Auntie Bernice getting involved in anything was like adding hot sauce to gasoline. She wasn't technically my aunt. She was my grandmother's best friend's daughter's cousin, which in black families means she's definitely your auntie, and you better call her Miss Bernice in public or catch hands. Auntie B was 62 years old but had the energy of a woman half her age and twice as petty. She wore velour tracksuits in colors that shouldn't exist, had her nails done every 2 weeks in increasingly wild designs, and kept a baseball bat in her trunk that she named Counselor because it helped her resolve disputes. Devin, baby, what's this I hear about your landlord? Hey, Auntie B, it's nothing serious, just a rent increase. How much? $125. The line went quiet. Then I heard what sounded like someone putting down a glass very deliberately. Say that again? $125, Auntie. But it's okay. I'm gonna figure something out. Figure something out? Baby, the only thing you need to figure out is how to spell lawsuit. That man is robbing you. It's legal, Auntie. It's in my lease. I don't care if it's in the Bible. It ain't right. What's this man's name? Richard Pemberton. But Auntie, please don't. Where do you live again? Magnolia something? Magnolia Heights. But seriously, I can handle. Bernice don't. I heard my mama say in the background. Pat, hush. That man is taking advantage of our baby. These gentrifiers come into our neighborhoods, buy up all the property, and then charge our own people a fortune to live in the communities we built. Not on my watch. Auntie B, please. I really don't need you to. I'm coming over there tomorrow. What time does this Richard Pemberton show his face? Usually around 10 in the morning, but perfect. I'll be there at 9:30. Get your lease agreement ready and put on something nice. We're going to have a conversation with Mr. Pemberton. Auntie, I'm begging you. Devin, Christopher Thompson, are you trying to tell me what to do? I froze. She used my full government name. That meant she was serious. And when Auntie Bernice was serious, the best thing to do was get out of her way and pray for whoever was in her path. No, ma'am. That's what I thought. I'll see you tomorrow, baby. And wear a tie. We're conducting business. She hung up before I could respond. I looked at Terrence, who had been listening to the whole conversation while eating what was definitely the last of my Frosted Flakes. Man, your auntie is wild. I know. Like, legitimately crazy. I'm aware. You remember when she fought the cable company guy? Which time? The time she held him hostage in her living room until they gave her HBO for free. They gave her 3 months of premium channels and a fruit basket. And technically, it wasn't hostage. She just wouldn't let him leave until a manager called. Bro, she stood in front of the door for 4 hours. She had snacks. He wasn't suffering. Terrence shook his head and went back to his phone. I sat there trying to figure out how to prevent tomorrow from becoming a complete disaster. Auntie Bernice getting involved meant something was about to go down. And knowing her, it would be memorable, legally questionable, and somehow end with her victorious. The next morning, I put on my only suit. It was the one I'd bought for job interviews 3 years ago and hadn't worn since. The pants were a little tight because I discovered DoorDash existed and had been using it like it was a food group. But I managed to button them if I didn't breathe too deep. I was adjusting my tie when Terrence came out of the bathroom. He'd spent the night because his girlfriend had kicked him out again. Something about him leaving the toilet seat up and her falling in at 3 in the morning. I'd stopped keeping track of their drama somewhere around argument 47. You really wearing a suit to talk to your landlord? Auntie B said to dress nice. Man, you look like you're going to a funeral. That might be accurate depending on how this goes. At exactly 9:30, I heard a car pull up outside. I looked out the window and saw Auntie Bernice's burgundy Cadillac taking up 2 parking spots. She climbed out wearing a lime green tracksuit with matching sneakers and a leopard print purse that was definitely big enough to hide Counselor the baseball bat. Terrence whistled. Your auntie came dressed for violence. That's just how she dresses. Nah, man. That's an outfit that says somebody's getting dealt with today. Auntie B walked into my building like she owned it. I could hear her heels clicking up the stairs with the determination of a woman on a mission. When she knocked on my door, It wasn't a polite knock. It was the knock of someone who'd come to handle business. I opened the door and she stood there, hands on her hips, looking me up and down like I was on inspection. Baby, why you look so nervous? Because I know how you are, Auntie. How am I? Enthusiastic about conflict resolution. That's just a fancy way of saying I don't let people play with me. Now come give your auntie some sugar. I hugged her and immediately felt better. That's the thing about Auntie Bernice. As crazy as she was, she always made you feel protected. Like nothing bad could happen as long as she was around. Except to whoever made her mad. You got that lease agreement? Yes, ma'am. Good. We're going to go over it before Mr. Pemberton gets here. I need to know exactly what we're working with. We sat at my kitchen table, which was really a TV tray I'd bought from Target. Auntie B pulled out a pair of reading glasses that had little rhinestones on the corners and started going through my lease line by line. Oh, this is trash. This is complete trash, Devin. What's wrong with it? Baby, this lease agreement got more loopholes than a basket. Look at this. It says he can enter your apartment anytime he wants for maintenance. Yeah, that's normal. With only 4 hours notice? That ain't normal. That's an invasion of privacy. And look at this. The security deposit is non-refundable? Is that bad? Is that bad? Devin, security deposits are supposed to be refundable unless you damage the property. This man is just keeping your money for free. What did you pay? $750. Lord have mercy. And you can't get it back even if you leave this place cleaner than you found it? I guess not. Auntie B took off her glasses and looked at me with the kind of disappointment only a black auntie can deliver. Baby, did you even try to negotiate any of this? Auntie, I was desperate. I'd been looking for 3 months. Every place I called either wanted first and last month's rent plus security, or they wanted a credit score I didn't have. When Richard said I could move in with just first month and security, I jumped on it. And he knew exactly what he was doing. These landlords prey on people who desperate. They write up these contracts knowing good and well folks ain't gonna read all the way through. Then they got you locked in, paying whatever they say because you don't want to be homeless. She was right, and I knew it. I'd been so focused on getting a place that I hadn't thought about the long-term consequences. Now I was stuck paying nearly $2,000 a month for a studio apartment with a shower curtain bedroom divider. So what do I do? First, we're going to talk to Mr. Pemberton, calmly and professionally. We're going to explain that these rent increases are unreasonable and we want them stopped. If he's a reasonable man, he'll listen. And if he's not? Auntie B smiled. It was the kind of smile that made me nervous. Then we moved to Plan B. What's Plan B? You'll see. At exactly 10 o'clock, there was a knock at my door. Richard Pemberton was nothing if not punctual. I opened it, and there he stood, bow tie perfectly straight, holding an iPad like it was the holy grail of rental agreements. Good morning, Devin. I hope you received my notice about the adjustment to your monthly. He stopped mid-sentence when he saw Auntie Bernice sitting at my kitchen table like she was conducting a board meeting. Oh, I didn't realize you had company. This is my Auntie Bernice. She wanted to discuss the rent increase with you. Richard's smile got a little tighter. Well, I'm not sure there's much to discuss. The increase is clearly outlined in the lease agreement, which Devin signed. Auntie B stood up slowly. She wasn't a tall woman, maybe 5'4", but she had the presence of someone who'd never backed down from anything in her life. Mr. Pemberton, is it? Yes, Richard Pemberton. Mr. Pemberton, my name is Bernice Hayes. I'm here on behalf of my nephew. I see. Well, Miss Hayes, I appreciate your concern, but this is really between me and my tenant. Oh, it is absolutely between you and your tenant. But since your tenant is my family, and since you're trying to charge him damn near $2,000 a month for a closet with a hot plate, it's also between you and me. Richard blinked. I'm sorry, but the property is fairly priced for the market. The market? Auntie B laughed. Not a polite laugh. The kind of laugh that comes before somebody gets cussed out. Baby, don't talk to me about the market. I've lived in Atlanta for 62 years. I remember when this neighborhood was full of black families who owned their homes. Then folks like you came in, bought everything up, and now you're charging our own people premium prices to live in the communities we built. With all due respect, Miss Hayes, I purchased this property legally and I'm operating within. I don't care about legal. I care about right. And what you're doing ain't right. Richard adjusted his bow tie. It was a nervous gesture. I understand you're upset, but the rental market in Atlanta has increased significantly. My costs have gone up, and I have to adjust accordingly. What costs? You ain't done nothing to this building since you bought it. The elevator been broken for 6 months. The parking lot got more potholes than pavement. And I know for a fact you haven't updated anything in these units. So what costs we talking about? Property taxes, insurance, maintenance. Maintenance? I couldn't help but jump in. Richard, I had a leaky faucet for 2 months before you fixed it. And when you did fix it, you sent a guy who charged you $40 and did it with duct tape. Richard's face was getting red. Look, I don't have to justify my business decisions to you. The lease clearly states that you can rob people. Auntie B cut him off. But just because something's in a contract doesn't make it right. You're taking advantage of people who don't have other options, and that's predatory. I'm running a business. No, baby, you're running a scam. There's a difference. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Terrence, who'd been watching from the couch, slowly got up and moved toward the door like he was expecting something to pop off. Richard took a deep breath. I'm going to leave now. Devin, the rent increase stands. You have until the end of the month to decide if you want to stay or not. He turned to leave, but Auntie B stepped in front of him. We're not done talking. Yes, we are. No, sir, we are not. Miss Hayes, please move. Or what? Or, I'll call the police. That was the wrong thing to say. I saw it in Auntie B's eyes. The shift from annoyed to officially pissed off. You gonna call the police on a 62-year-old woman for having a conversation with you? If you don't let me leave, yes, I ain't stopping you from leaving. The door's right there. But if you walk out that door without agreeing to stop these ridiculous rent increases, I promise you, you're going to regret it. Richard laughed. Actually laughed. Are you threatening me? No, baby. I'm promising you. This is exactly the kind of behavior that Richard tried to step around her, but Auntie B moved with him. They were doing this weird dance in my tiny apartment where he'd try to go left and she'd block him. He'd try to go right and she'd block him again. Miss Hayes, I'm warning you, and I'm warning you. Stop playing with my nephew. That's when Richard made his biggest mistake. He reached out to move Auntie B aside. Not aggressively, just a hand on her shoulder to guide her out of the way. But the moment his hand touched her, something in Auntie Bernice snapped. Did you just put your hands on me? I barely touched you. What happened next was like watching a nature documentary where the prey thinks they're safe and then realizes they've walked into a trap. Auntie B grabbed Richard's hand, twisted it in a way that made him yelp, and then somehow had him in a headlock before any of us could process what was happening. Auntie, I shouted. Stay back, Devin. Mr. Pemberton and I are having a discussion. Richard was making noises like a squeaky toy. Let me go. This is assault. Assault? Baby, I haven't even started yet. Right now, this is just aggressive negotiation. Terrence was standing by the door with his phone out. Yo, should I call somebody? Who you gonna call? Auntie B said, still holding Richard in a headlock. The police? Go ahead. Call them. Let's see who they believe. A senior citizen defending herself from a man who put his hands on her? Or a gentrifying landlord trying to charge people $2,000 a month for a studio apartment? Richard was turning red. I'll reduce the rent. I'll reduce it. How much? Back to what it was. Before all 3 increases? Yes. Just let me go. Auntie B looked at me. Devin, get your phone and record this. We need this on video. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and started recording. Auntie B looked directly at the camera while still holding Richard in a headlock. State your name for the record. Richard Pemberton, he wheezed. And what are you agreeing to do? I'm agreeing to reduce Devin Thompson's rent back to the original amount of $1,500. And no more increases? No more increases for 12 months. Make it 2 years. Fine, 2 years, and you're gonna fix that elevator. The elevator? Auntie B tightened her grip slightly. Yes, I'll fix the elevator. And the parking lot. The parking lot too. And you're going to give Devin his security deposit back since that non-refundable clause is illegal in the state of Georgia. I didn't know if that was actually true, but Richard was in no position to argue. Okay, he gets his deposit back. Auntie B finally released him. Richard stumbled forward, gasping for air and adjusting his now very crooked bow tie. His face was red, his hair was messed up, and he looked like he'd just survived a natural disaster. You attacked me, he said, his voice hoarse. Baby, I defended myself. You put your hands on me first. Devin got it all on camera. Now, you can either keep your word about the rent and the deposit, or we can show this video to every tenant in this building and let them know their landlord likes to put his hands on elderly black women. Your choice. Richard looked at me, then at Terrence, then back at Auntie B. You could see him doing the math in his head, trying to figure out if fighting this was worth it. I want that video deleted, he finally said. Not until we get the new lease agreement in writing, Auntie B replied. You got 3 days to get Devin a proper lease with the reduced rent, no more increases for 2 years, and his deposit back. Once we get that, we'll delete the video. But if you try anything funny, this video goes viral, and I know some people at Channel 2 News who would love to do a story about predatory landlords in Atlanta. Richard grabbed his iPad and walked to the door. Before he left, he turned around one more time. This isn't over. Yes, it is, baby. You just don't know it yet. After Richard left, the three of us stood in silence. Then Terrence started laughing. Not a little chuckle. A full-on, bent over, tears streaming down his face laugh. Yo, your auntie just put your landlord in a headlock. That was the most gangster thing I've ever seen in my life. I should have been laughing too, but I was in shock. Auntie B, you can't just attack people. I didn't attack him. He put his hands on me first. That's self-defense. That was not self-defense. You had him in a headlock for like 3 minutes, and in those 3 minutes, I negotiated you a better lease agreement, your deposit back, and got the elevator fixed. You're welcome. She had a point, a legally questionable, possibly criminal point, but a point nonetheless. Terrence was still laughing. Miss Bernice, you are officially my hero. That man was scared for his life. He should have been. I'm too old to be playing games with these people. Life is too short, and my patience is too thin. I sat down on my couch, trying to process everything that had just happened. What if he doesn't keep his word? What if he calls the police? He won't. How do you know? Because men like Richard Pemberton don't want attention. They want to operate in the shadows, taking advantage of people quietly. The last thing he wants is people looking into his business. Trust me, he'll send you a new lease agreement within 3 days. And if he doesn't, Auntie B reached into her leopard print purse and pulled out a business card. Then we call this lawyer. He owes me a favor from that time. I helped him with a thing. What thing? Don't worry about it. The point is, we got options. But Richard is going to do exactly what he said because he knows we got him on camera, and he knows I'm crazy enough to make his life difficult. She wasn't wrong about that last part. The three of us sat there for a while, the adrenaline slowly wearing off. Auntie B made herself comfortable on my couch, kicked off her shoes, and started scrolling through her phone like she hadn't just assaulted my landlord. Y'all got any food in this place? I'm hungry. Terrence looked at me. Man, there's nothing here. Devin don't keep food. He just orders everything. That's ridiculous. Devin, baby, you need to learn how to cook. All that DoorDash gonna have you broke and diabetic. I know how to cook. Ramen noodles don't count. I make other things. Like what? I made spaghetti last week. With jarred sauce? Sauce is sauce. Auntie B shook her head. Your grandmother is rolling in her grave. She taught all y'all how to cook, and here you are eating processed food like you wasn't raised right. Come on. We're going to the store. I'm going to cook you a proper meal, and we're going to talk about how you're going to handle your business from now on. An hour later, we were at Kroger with Auntie B leading the way like a general commanding troops. She had a list in her head and a mission to fill my empty refrigerator with real food. You need vegetables, fruit, some good meat, rice, beans, basic stuff that you can make multiple meals with. Auntie, I don't have space for all that. My kitchen is tiny. I've cooked Thanksgiving dinner in a bathroom before. Size ain't the issue. Organization is. Terrence was pushing the cart, still amazed by everything that had happened. Miss Bernice, can I ask you something? Go ahead, baby. Where'd you learn to fight like that? Auntie B smiled. Growing up, I had 3 older brothers and 2 younger sisters. You learn real quick how to handle yourself. Plus, I took a self-defense class at the rec center back in '98. The instructor was this little Korean woman named Miss Kim who could throw a man twice her size. She taught me that size don't matter. Leverage and surprise do. You threw my landlord around like he was a rag doll. That's because he wasn't expecting it. Men like Richard think they can do whatever they want. They not used to people fighting back. especially not elderly black women, he learned today. We filled up 2 carts with groceries. Auntie B insisted on paying for everything, despite my protest. She said it was an investment in my future health and her peace of mind knowing I wasn't living off fast food. Back in my apartment, she took over my tiny kitchen like it was her own. Within 20 minutes, she had chicken marinating, rice cooking, and vegetables chopped. The whole place smelled like home, like Sunday dinners at Grandma's house. Terrence sat on the couch, watching her work. "Miss Bernice, you need any help? You know how to cook? My mama taught me a few things. Then come over here and watch this. I'm going to show you how to make a meal that costs about $15 but feeds you for 3 days. Devin, you paying attention?" I was on my phone, checking to see if Richard had sent anything. Nothing yet. "Devin." "Yes, ma'am, I'm watching." "No, you're on that phone. Put it down and pay attention. This is important." I put my phone down and watched as Auntie B moved around my kitchen with the efficiency of someone who'd been cooking for decades. She explained every step, every seasoning, why certain things went together. Cooking ain't about following recipes exactly. It's about understanding flavors and techniques. You learn the basics, and you can make anything. Your generation thinks cooking is hard because y'all grew up with microwaves and takeout. But our grandmothers fed families of 8 on 20 a week. They knew how to stretch a dollar and make magic happen. She was right. My grandmother could make a ham bone, some beans, and a few vegetables feed the whole family. I'd watched her do it countless times, but never really paid attention to how. "The problem with young people today," Auntie B continued, "is y'all don't think about the long term. You see something you want, and you get it without thinking about the cost. That's how you end up in situations like with Richard. You so focused on getting a place right now that you don't read the fine print. You so focused on eating something tasty right now that you don't think about cooking something that costs less and is better for you. Auntie B, you know I'm sitting right here, right? I know. That's why I'm saying it. You need to hear this, baby. You're smart. You got a good job, but you don't think long term. That's going to catch up with you." She wasn't lecturing me to be mean. It was coming from a place of love, which somehow made it worse, because she was right. Terrence jumped in. "Miss Bernice, how do you know when the chicken is done?" "When the juices run clear and the meat ain't pink inside. But you got to be careful not to overcook it. Dry chicken is a sin." We ate together at my tiny kitchen table, the 3 of us squeezed in like we were at a fancy restaurant instead of my studio apartment. The food was incredible, better than anything I'd ordered in months. "Auntie, this is amazing." "It's basic, but thank you. This is what happens when you take time to cook with love instead of just heating up something frozen." My phone buzzed. It was an email from Richard. I opened it, half expecting him to threaten legal action. Instead, it was a new lease agreement. Everything Auntie B had demanded was in there. Reduce rent back to $1,500, no increases for 2 years, and a check for my security deposit was being mailed within 5 business days. He did it. He actually did it. Auntie B smiled. "I told you he would. Men like Richard are bullies, and bullies back down when you stand up to them. You didn't just stand up to him. You put him in a headlock. Potato, potato." Terrence raised his glass of sweet tea. "To Miss Bernice, the realest to ever do it." We all raised our glasses and laughed. It felt good, like something had shifted, not just with the rent situation, but with me. I'd been letting life happen to me instead of taking control, letting Richard raise my rent without fighting back, letting my credit score stay bad without fixing it, living off DoorDash because it was easy instead of learning to cook because it was smart. Over the next few days, life settled into a new normal. Richard sent me the revised lease agreement via certified mail. Everything was exactly as Auntie B had negotiated. He even included a letter apologizing for the confusion about the rent increases and assuring me that the elevator would be fixed within the month. I showed the letter to my sister Jasmine when she came over for lunch. I'd actually cooked, using the leftovers from what Auntie B made and adding my own touches. It wasn't perfect, but it was edible and cost me about $8 instead of the $25 I would have spent on delivery. "I can't believe Auntie B actually put your landlord in a headlock," Jasmine said, reading the letter for the 3rd time. "Believe it, I got video. You're not going to post it, are you?" "No, we made a deal, but I'm keeping it just in case Richard tries anything else." "Smart. How's the new lease?" "Good. Really good, actually. I'm saving $200 a month now." What are you going to do with the extra money? I thought about it. The old me would have immediately thought about what I could buy. New shoes, maybe a PlayStation, dinner at that expensive restaurant downtown. But something had changed. I'm going to start an emergency fund and fix my credit score and maybe take a cooking class. Jasmine looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Who are you and what did you do with my brother? I'm serious. Auntie B was right. I need to think long term. I'm almost 30 and I got nothing saved. That's embarrassing. It's not embarrassing. It's where you are. But I'm proud of you for wanting to change it. We ate together, talking about life and plans and the future. She told me about a financial advisor she knew who could help me set up a budget. I told her about how Terrence was thinking about going back to school. It was one of those conversations that reminded me why family was important. Later that night, I called Auntie B. Hey, Auntie, you busy? Never too busy for you, baby. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to say thank you for everything. For helping with Richard, for teaching me how to cook, for the tough love. Baby, that's what family does. We look out for each other. I know, but I want you to know I appreciate it. And I'm going to do better. With money, with planning, with everything. There was a pause on the other end. Then I heard Auntie B's voice, softer than usual. Devin, I wasn't always smart with money either. When I was your age, I made plenty of mistakes. The difference is, I had people who helped me learn from them. That's all I'm doing for you, passing on what was passed to me. Well, it means a lot. You know what would mean a lot to me? What? You taking that money you're saving and putting it somewhere it can grow. Not just in a regular savings account, but in something that earns interest. Talk to Jasmine about it. She's good with that stuff. I will. And Devin, yes ma'am, I'm proud of you. Not just because you're standing up for yourself now, but because you're willing to admit when you need help. That takes strength. After we hung up, I sat on my couch in my tiny studio apartment that no longer felt like a prison. The shower curtain bedroom divider didn't seem so bad. The kitchen that was barely a kitchen felt like possibility instead of limitation. I was still in the same space, but something fundamental had changed. The elevator got fixed 2 weeks later. Richard hired a proper company instead of his usual discount handyman. The parking lot was repaved the week after that. Slowly, the building started to look like somewhere people actually wanted to live instead of somewhere people tolerated because they had no choice. Other tenants started coming up to me, asking how I got Richard to make all these improvements. I told them about the rent reduction, about Auntie B, about standing up for yourself even when it's scary. Word spread fast. Within a month, 5 other tenants had banded together and approached Richard about their own rent increases. They didn't have Auntie Bernice to put him in a headlock, but they had something just as powerful: unity. When Richard tried to stonewall them, they threatened to all move out at once, which would have left him with an empty building and no income. He backed down, reduced their rents, fixed more things, started acting like a landlord who actually cared about his tenants instead of just their money. Terrence moved out of his girlfriend's place for good after she threw his Xbox out the window during an argument about whose turn it was to take out the trash. He got his own studio apartment in the same building as me, 2 floors down. We started a tradition of cooking dinner together twice a week, trying new recipes and comparing our results. I paid off my first credit card using the money I saved from the rent reduction. It wasn't much, only about $500, but it felt like climbing a mountain. Jasmine helped me set up a budget and showed me how to track my spending. Turned out I was spending almost $400 a month on food delivery. Cutting that down to maybe $100 and cooking the rest saved me enough to start actually building savings. 6 months after the incident with Richard, I had $1,000 in my emergency fund. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was something. A cushion, a buffer between me and disaster. My credit score went up 30 points, then 40, then 60. Jasmine said if I kept it up, I could qualify for a real lease at a better place within a year. Maybe even think about buying something small. But the biggest change wasn't in my bank account or my credit score. It was in how I saw myself. I wasn't just reacting to life anymore. I was planning, thinking ahead, making choices based on where I wanted to be instead of just where I was. Auntie B came over for dinner every few weeks. She'd inspect my cooking, offer suggestions, and tell stories about the old days. About how Atlanta used to be before the gentrification, before the fancy restaurants and expensive condos. About the community that raised her and how they looked out for each other. "That's what we lost," she said one evening, sitting at my kitchen table with a plate of the chicken and rice I'd made. "We used to be a community. Now everybody's so busy trying to make it that we forget we're stronger together. How do we get that back? One person at a time. You standing up to Richard, that helped your neighbors stand up too. That's how it starts. You can't change the whole system overnight, but you can change your little corner of it." She was right. The building felt different now. People said hello in the hallways. We had a group chat where tenants shared information about good deals at the grocery store, job openings, and neighborhood events. It was small, but it was something. My mama came to visit one Sunday, ostensibly to see how I was doing, but really to inspect my living situation and make sure I wasn't living like a complete disaster. She walked around my tiny apartment, opening cabinets, checking the fridge, examining everything with her principal's eye. "I see you got real food now." "Yes, ma'am. Auntie B taught me," she told me, "said you're doing real good. I'm trying." Mama sat on my couch and patted the spot next to her. It was the universal black mother signal for we're about to have a conversation. "Baby, I'm proud of you. Not just for fixing the rent situation, but for taking control of your life. That's hard to do. It's easier to just keep going the way you've been going, even when it ain't working. But you made a change. That takes courage." "Mama, I didn't have a choice. Richard was robbing me." "You always have a choice. You could have just paid the increase and kept struggling. You could have moved back home. You could have given up and stayed stuck. But you didn't. You fought back. And when you realized you needed help, you accepted it. That's growth." Coming from Mama, who'd raised 2 kids mostly by herself after Daddy passed, who'd worked her way up from teacher to principal, who'd never asked anyone for anything, that praise hit different. "Thanks, Mama. You know what your father would say right now?" "What?" "He'd say, stop getting emotional and show me what you learned to cook. So go on, make your mama some dinner." I cooked for her. The same chicken and rice dish Auntie B had taught me, but I'd added my own twist. A little extra garlic, some peppers, a sauce I'd experimented with. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Mama ate slowly, the way she always did when she was really tasting something. When she finished, she put down her fork and looked at me. "That was good, real good. You put your own spin on Bernice's recipe." "I've been practicing." "I can tell. You're going to be all right, Devin. You're going to be just fine." A year after the incident, I moved out of the studio apartment. Not because Richard was causing problems, but because I was ready for something bigger. My credit score had improved enough to qualify for a real 1-bedroom in a better neighborhood. The rent was about the same as what I'd been paying, but the place was twice the size with an actual bedroom that had walls. When I told Richard I was moving, he actually seemed disappointed. "I'm sorry to see you go, Devin. You've been a good tenant." Even after everything with my aunt, he laughed, though it sounded uncomfortable, especially after that. It made me realize I'd been running this place all wrong, treating it like just a business instead of a community. Your aunt taught me a lesson that day. She's good at that. Tell her I said, "Thank you, and I'm sorry, for everything." I didn't know if he really meant it, but it sounded sincere enough. People can change, I guess. Even landlords. My going away party was small. Terrence, Jasmine, Mama, and Auntie B. We ordered pizza because nobody felt like cooking, and we sat in my empty apartment one last time, boxes stacked around us, reminiscing about the year that had changed everything. "Remember when Auntie B put Richard in a headlock?" Terrence said, laughing. "How could I forget? Y'all won't let me forget," Auntie B replied. "I should have charged y'all for that entertainment." "You should have sold tickets," Jasmine added. "I would have paid to see it. Next time somebody needs their landlord dealt with, I'm going to start charging. Call it the Auntie Bernice Conflict Resolution Service." We all laughed, but underneath the jokes was something real. Gratitude, love, the understanding that family shows up when you need them, even if it means putting somebody in a headlock. Before everyone left, Auntie B pulled me aside. "You did good, baby, real good. This past year, watching you grow up and take responsibility, that made me happy. I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. You just needed somebody to show you it was possible. That's all I did. The rest was all you. Still, thank you, Auntie B, for everything. She hugged me tight, the way she used to when I was little and scared of the dark. When she pulled back, her eyes were wet. You're going to keep doing good things, Devin. I know it. Just remember what I taught you. Stand up for yourself, think long term, and never let nobody make you feel small. You're a Thompson. We don't bow down to nobody. Yes, ma'am. And if your new landlord tries any funny business, I'll call you immediately. That's my boy. As I locked the door to my old apartment for the last time, I thought about everything that had happened. How a simple rent increase had led to my aunt assaulting my landlord, which had led to me learning to cook, which had led to me fixing my credit, which had led to me standing here now, ready for a new chapter. Life is funny like that. Sometimes the worst things that happen to you end up being the best things. Sometimes the people who seem the craziest end up being the wisest. Sometimes you need somebody to put your landlord in a headlock before you realize you've been letting life push you around. My new apartment was in a building with an actual working elevator, a doorman, and a landlord who seemed to have his act together. The lease was clear, fair, and actually made sense. I read every word before signing. Twice. I set up my new place slowly, thoughtfully, got some real furniture instead of just whatever was cheapest, hung pictures on the walls, made it feel like home instead of just a place to sleep. Terrence helped me move in, along with a couple guys from work who I'd started building friendships with. We ordered pizza again, because some traditions are worth keeping, and sat on my new couch in my new living room, tired and satisfied. You did it, man, Terrence said. We did it. You helped. Nah, this is all you. I just carried boxes. You changed your whole life. He was right. The apartment was just a symbol. The real change was in me. How I thought about money. How I thought about my future. How I thought about standing up for myself. That night, alone in my new place, I called Auntie B one more time. Hey, Auntie, just wanted to let you know I'm all settled in. That's good, baby. How's the new place? It's perfect. Real bedroom, good kitchen, nice bathroom, everything I needed. I'm happy for you. Auntie B, yeah? I just want to say, if you hadn't come over that day, if you hadn't stood up to Richard, I don't think any of this would have happened. I'd still be stuck in that studio, paying too much, not saving anything, not planning ahead. Maybe. Or maybe you would have figured it out eventually. Sometimes we just need somebody to give us a push. Well, you pushed me. Hard. And I'm grateful. That's what aunties are for, baby. Now get some rest. Tomorrow's a new day. As I lay in my new bed in my new bedroom, I thought about the moral of everything that had happened. It wasn't just about rent or money or standing up to landlords. It was about knowing your worth and not accepting less than you deserve. It was about family showing up when you need them. It was about being willing to change when you realize the path you're on isn't working. It was about understanding that sometimes the people who love you will do crazy things to protect you, even if it means putting your landlord in a headlock. And maybe, most importantly, it was about recognizing that you don't have to face life's battles alone. That there's strength in community, in family, in being willing to ask for help and accept it when it's offered. I fell asleep that night with a smile on my face, knowing that somewhere in Atlanta, Auntie Bernice was probably getting into some other situation, helping some other family member, being the kind of crazy, loving, protective force of nature that Black families are blessed to have. And if Richard Pemberton was smart, he'd remember the lesson she taught him, because Auntie B might be 62, but she'd put him in that headlock again in a heartbeat if he started his nonsense with any other tenants. That's just who she is. That's just what aunties do. They show up, they fight, they love, and sometimes, when necessary, they put people in headlocks until justice is served. And honestly, the world could use a few more Auntie Bernices. Like this video if it touched something in you. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about what it means to be human, to be family, and to choose love, even when it's complicated. I'll see you next time.